Well, welcome. You are in the gallery, 1,000 Windows in Susanville, California, and this is my first video recorded from the gallery, and it's the first video in a new series that we're going to dive into that's going to explore the backstory behind some of my more popular images or pictures that at least deserve an explanation in my mind. You know, I've had people comment a lot on my Facebook page and other places that it's the story behind some of these photos that makes them so special and that makes them want to to see more and hear more about how this image was captured and what went into it and how did you wind up at this point after quite a journey to get there. So we're going to start episode 1 of a new series called The Backstory, and welcome, glad you're here. Let's dive in. So this is a mountain lion. Puma concolor is the scientific name, and they roam the forests of North America. They are the hide and seek champions of North America, and this is an image that I really wanted. At this point I'd gotten camera trap images or in-person images of all of the kind of big predators in our area in this part of the country. I had coyotes, and I had bears, and I had bobcats, and I had gray foxes that are running around my property. And around this time, I got a camera trap image of a gray wolf, which was a pretty popular image that you might have seen. But at that point, I got a wolf in California, of all places, where there was only maybe 20 or 30 of those animals. But I'd still not gotten a good headshot of a mountain lion. And I'd always wanted one. And so I kind of decided to make it my mission to set up and get a headshot of a face, of a mountain lion. I wanted a different image. Honestly, when this showed up on the camera, it was kind of a mess. And we're going to dive into that. But a lot of what makes this image what it is the edit and the sort of salvaging a pretty bad in-camera result, honestly, mostly because of the crop and because of the way that the lion showed up into my camera trap setup. So this is a camera trap image, which means it was a remote camera. I was not there 3 feet in front of this mountain lion taking photos. It's an infrared trigger system that the animal trips, which actuates a full-on DSLR camera. I've got flashes mounted in trees. And you'll see in some trail cam video in a minute that mountain lions, at least, do not care about flashes going off in their presence. Man, they don't even blink. They just kind of keep walking. But it is a camera trap image, which means a lot of people think it's like a trail camera. You just hang it on the tree and you just hope for the best. That's not the case. I would say camera trapping is much harder than actually taking a photo in person of an animal. And that's largely because you have to predict where the animal is going to be pretty much exactly. And on top of that, you have all the settings of the camera, all the settings of the flashes, all the settings on the trigger. All of that is manual. So you've got manual focus. You've got manual intensity of the light situation. You got to decide if the picture is going to happen in the day or at night or at twilight, and how much ambient light there's going to be, and what camera settings you should use to compensate for that. You have to decide exactly where the animal is going to be in terms of the plane of focus of the camera. And that's probably the hardest thing, is figuring out how to set your trigger up to cooperate with where your focal point is in order to get a sharp image of the animal. And in this case, that is one thing that worked out perfectly, is the focus point. What didn't work out perfectly is where in my frame the cat showed up. This edge of the cat is the far left side of the image. The tail, everything else is not in there. And you'll see when we go to the location why I set it up that way and where I thought the cat was going to be. I wish, even to this day, that I was panned over a little bit more and had a little bit more of this tree over here and that tail hanging out in the back, and that's the shot I wanted. But this is what I got, and thankfully it's really been a popular image and a lot of people have liked it. By the way, this is a 24 by 36 Chromolux aluminum metal print of this cat, and This is probably about as big as I would blow this picture up, just due to the resolution, because you'll see how much I had to crop in on this image. The reason I was able to print it this big was pretty much 100% due to Topaz Labs gigapixel software. And there's other enlargement software that works, but gigapixel is really, truly amazing. I have a Topaz affiliate link, and I'll put it in the description below this video. If you're interested, check it out. But they're not sponsoring me here or anything. They didn't pay me to say that, but I'm just saying that software saved this image. And if I'd gotten this image without having the Topaz suite of software, it wouldn't be hanging on the wall right now in my gallery. So definitely came out pretty good. So I have a little bit of a backstory with this particular mountain lion. I keep trail cameras all over my property, and this particular cat has come through for a few years, and I've gotten it on trail cameras in various places. I've kind of, tried to predict how often it's going to come through. Best I can figure, I'm kind of, near, the territory that it kind of works. And on a good year, I might get this mountain lion on trail camera once every 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. A little bit more in the winter time when it seems to be working lower elevations, and a little bit less in the summertime when it probably goes further up into the mountains. But I have seen a lot of this cat on grainy, blurry, infrared, trail camera images. I have seen it in person one time, and I found a deer kill on my property. This was a couple years ago. And set up a trail camera, got some amazing footage overnight of this lion working on this deer carcass. The next night I got decked out in full-on camouflage, and I waited it out. I went outside with my camera all wrapped up in moss and everything else, and I hid myself away not too far from this carcass, and I waited, and it was getting really dark, and right kind of twilight when the camera was like at its limit, being able to capture the scene, this cat came back, and I had one of those like moments of like, what have I done, right? But started taking pictures, and the cat actually heard my camera clicking. I'm not mirrorless at this point, right? I had a camera with a shutter that was clicking, and the cat heard it and looked my direction and did one of these kind of things, and was trying to figure out what I was. And I took a few pictures that were not great. It was really heavy cover, and just enough kind of mystery there to really make me want a better photo of this mountain lion. So when the opportunity came up to set up a camera trap and really try to get it, I jumped on it. So I'm going to give you kind of that whole story, but I got it on a couple trail cameras within a couple days, and I knew it was sort of sticking around the area enough to try to do this. And then it was super gracious and stayed around for a couple weeks and gave me a bunch of photos, but I could not get the face shot. I kept getting it walking away. I would move my camera and it would come the other direction, and I got like so many tail end shots or side shots of this mountain lion, but never that face. I wanted those eyeballs. So when it finally gave me full-on eye contact, it was a special moment, but the image was not what I was hoping that it was. So we had to kind of really salvage what I could out of the edit. I was not looking for a really like tight crop portrait like that at all. I was looking for kind of the whole scene, the environment, and not what happened. The cat did not cooperate in that way. But to get this image out of what happened was pretty amazing. And since then, this image has been one of my most popular on social media and that kind of thing. It gets, every time it comes up, it's shared a whole bunch of times. It was actually selected as a finalist for the California Wildlife Photo of the Year 2023, and I'm sorry, 22. It was not the winner, but it was a finalist. It won one of the entry periods in that contest. It was in Outdoor California magazine. Got a full spread in there, which is kind of fun. Color, focus, and timing, and a little write-up on the shot and me and all that. So pretty cool to get a whole bunch of attention out of this photo, kind of taken in my own backyard. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna give you as much as I can as far as detail on how I set up the shot. And in order to do that, we're gonna actually go on scene and see where it happened. And I'm gonna kind of show you where my camera was and where I moved it. And then we're gonna move on and talk about the photo that I actually wound up with and how I edited that shot into this. So let's jump to my property, and I'll kind of give you a description of how this all went down when the picture was taken. Okay, so here we are on scene. I'm going to kind of describe to you what happened that led me to setting up for this photo. I had a trail camera on this tree facing that way, and it was a cellular camera that would send me an alert when an animal tripped it. And I got a mountain lion walking by it going that way one night. Now normally when you get a mountain lion on a trail camera, you won't see it again for like 6 weeks. You know, they work a big area and it won't stick around unless it has a kill or something nearby. So I kind of disregarded, thought that's cool. But the next night I got the same cat walking by the other side of the tree going the same way. So I hustled down here and I started looking for any sign or any tracks or anything that I could find that would indicate, you know, where it might be going, or I was hoping to find a kill, which I never did locate. But right over here at the base of this big old cedar tree, I found a scrape in the ground, kind of right here, and that's usually an indication that they're going to keep coming by and marking their territory, and it was very encouraging. So I thought this thing must be kind of going through here somehow, maybe that way. But anyway, I set up my camera over here by this tree, and that was the first attempt, and that was kind of a fail. But I was looking that way from over here, and I got pictures of the cat. I thought it was going to be coming straight at me, and turns out it actually started cutting across this area that way. So I got like a profile shot of the cat going that way, and I got a profile shot of the cat going that way, and you know, playing the odds, I thought, okay, the next time it comes by, it's going to be coming this way. Now at this point, we're already like 2 or 3 days into this thing, which is a super rare opportunity. I think the cat had to have made at least 1 kill in the neighborhood, maybe 2, because it stuck around for like a couple of weeks. So I wound up setting up over here, and I really wanted to get a shot of it coming this way, and I got some cool trail cam footage of it, but every time it came by and tripped my camera trap, it was going the wrong way. So I moved my camera over here. There's actually my little 2x4 that I used right there. Is where the winning shot actually finally happened. But I was looking this way. And because of where the scrape was, I was assuming the cat was going to be right next to this cedar tree. So my shot was kind of like that. So every clip I had of this cat, which I had a lot of at this point, it was on trail cameras. It was walking like right here, and right next to this tree, in the same path, in the same footsteps almost. And I had video of it coming through multiple times, multiple nights, and I knew this is where it was going to be. So I set up to frame my shot to get it next to this big old tree, which was kind of my goal. And the reason this shot was kind of felt like a failure at first is because it came through way over here on this side, brushing against these guys, which were smaller then. That was, you know, a year ago, so that's grown. But it was out of frame. It was cut off on the edge. And I'm sure that it was a response to me moving my camera again. You could see on the video that I got of this shot being taken, the cat is just locked on to that camera that used to be in a different spot. You know, so it got me my eye contact, but it lost me the full cat in the frame. So when it snuck around this tree, it was trying to figure out why that camera was, you know, had moved. So when I looked at the shot, I thought, bummer, I missed it. You know, this was my one chance, and I didn't get the shot. It was later when I went to look at the edit when I kind of figured out, okay, what I wanted was the environment shot. You know, I wanted a wider shot with this big old growth cedar in it, and the mountain lion, you know, kind of posed right here. And I had to sort of turn it into a portrait because it didn't give me enough to get the whole cat. I wanted that tail in there. I wanted the whole cat in the environment. So kind of had to make lemonade out of what the cat gave me. But the shot wound up being very cool, just not the shot that I wanted. And I'm not going to give you like a whole ton of detail about the kind of quest and all those photos that went back and forth, because I have a whole YouTube playlist where I was recording sort of the journey to get to that shot and sharing all those trail cam clips and everything else. So if you want to check that out, you can go ahead and find that on my channel. But the bottom line is, I got a shot of what I thought was part of a mountain lion, not the shot I was after. But then, you know, you get to looking at these things on the computer and you think, what can I salvage sort of out of that photo? So ironically, what I thought was going to be just a salvaged, you know, okay image wound up being a very special shot. But that all goes into the edit. So let's take a look at what I did to edit this photo, and I'll show you kind of what the original looked like, and you'll kind of see what I saw and think, oh yeah, that's not great. And we'll see what we're able to get out of it in the edit process. All right, so here we are in my Lightroom catalog, and you probably saw in that video there were 4 exposures of this mountain lion. This is the first one, and you can probably see already why it was a little bit of a bummer when I looked at this image on the back of the camera. But I made my mouse big, so hopefully you can kind of follow me around here. But you'll notice on the cat just this blown out, overexposed sections, and that's because there's a flash unit right, I mean, like a foot and a half, 2 feet away from the animal, which was never the goal. The lighting I was looking for is what you're seeing over here on this tree, which would have been pretty ideal if the cat was where I thought it was going to be. But anyway, that was the first exposure. This is the second exposure, and I mean, the focus is perfect on that one especially, and on the next couple. But again, it's only half a cat, so still have some overexposure issues there. This is the third, and then the fourth is the one that I chose to go with when it's kind of turned around the corner a little bit and looking towards me. But you can see the face is away from that flash now. It's overexposed back here, underexposed up here, and we've got some issues. So I'm gonna hit the reset button really quick and show you the dark background and everything. There's enough data here to bring up the shadows in the back and get some good exposure back there. It was not dark. It was like 5:30 p.m. or something. Oh, there you go, 5:06 p.m. So I had a lot of light, kind of ambient light also, which was perfect. If you lower the highlights, you can see that you can save that overexposed stuff on the animal itself, which that started kind of giving me some hope that maybe there was something I could do with this. But you can still see that the face is dark, the scene is not right. So I had to crop, right? So I went in here and I started to try to keep it as a landscape photo, but there's just nothing you can do aesthetically to make that look balanced in any way, shape, or form. So the only thing I could do was go with the portrait crop and really tight. And I started to try to do it with a little more space on the right and something like that. But the more I looked at it, the more, kind of weird it looked. So I decided to just center those eyeballs and go with something, like in that range, with those eyes right along that top third line there. So that's the crop I basically wound up with. When you zoom in on it, you can see it's noisy. We've got shadows to deal with. We've got a lot of noise, but we're getting somewhere. This looked like, okay, this might be salvageable. I can't remember if I used a brush or a radial filter to bring the exposure up in the face, but probably a brush. That's what I would do looking at it right now. So I'm just going to bring exposure up and the temperature a little bit warmer, just to kind of get the dark, cold shadows out of that face. And you can see I start brushing that on. It's not where it needs to be just with that, but kind of get the mask on there, and then you can continue to adjust, right? So you can go way too much. As I do that, you can see these reflections in the eyeballs that I had a hard time wrestling with. This little spot right there from the flash. What's going on is these are reflections from the flash that's out of frame to the left is that big bright spot, and then this one, and then the flash that's above the camera is that little spot, and then the one on the right on there. I played with cloning that bright overexposed one out. I played with trying to decrease the exposure on it, and what I wound up doing was just leaving it. It looks natural, and it's kind of all you could do. So no one's complained about it, but I did want to get rid of that. If you look at the sort of left side of the face, it's all just a little bit, I don't know, murky, I would say, in the edit. It's not perfect. Right now, nothing's perfect because you can see all this noise and all the graininess of the picture. So I played with it longer, obviously when I was trying to get it perfect to print. But for now, you can kind of see how I got where I got. And we're gonna pop it over into Topaz and show you how the noise was kind of dealt with. So I have Topaz set up as a Lightroom plugin. So you can just go edit in Topaz denoise. Then you want to edit with Lightroom adjustments. And that'll take a second to open up. So Topaz is a pretty impressive program. Like I've said, I like to zoom in when I get in there, so you can kind of see the noise you're dealing with. Every time you move the picture or zoom in or change it, you can see down here in the corner it starts updating, and it goes real quick and tries to change the scene for you and show you what the noise reduction looks like with the settings you have over here. This is the recommended settings. Usually it over sharpens, in my opinion, and it goes a little heavy on the noise also. So I always hit the suggested and then cut the sharpness way down. Because honestly, I'm not here to sharpen the photo. It's pretty sharp. I'm here to look at the graininess. If you look here in the background, you can really see what the noise reduction starts to do. And if you push that button, you can see the before and the after. But that's a pretty impressive change. So bouncing it back and forth between these two programs, you can figure out how to get rid of all that noise, and then you just hit apply, and it'll save it back into Lightroom as a new image. So we're back in Lightroom, and we're pretty close. We're pretty close to what I wound up going with, and the image that I shared everywhere. But that is what I did. So, but then now you've got this problem. You've got an image that's only 2,000 pixels on the big side, right? 2,000 pixels is not very big because you cropped it down so far, and it will not print large. So I took my denoised image and I popped it into Topaz Gigapixel, All right, and when you're in gigapixel, you've also got noise reduction options, blur options, things that like the sharpen program and the denoise program also try to address. Topaz now has their photo AI, which is kind of an all-in-one sort of deal, but when I'm just enlarging, I'll usually get rid of all those. You don't want to change any of that stuff. And I've also found if you go much over 2 times, you're going to start to see some weirdness. And this will print pretty big at the 2 times size. You know, you can get it up to 36 inches or so. This shows you on the right side the new enlarged version, on the left side your original. And if you're not careful, it'll look over sharpened and it'll get a little crazy, but you got to change settings until you get to where you're happy with it. These different models here will treat it differently. Sometimes you go to the low res, it'll give you a little bit less of the sharpening and everything else. But that's what I did. I wound up just going 2 times in gigapixel, and I wound up with an image in Lightroom. I don't want to save this one because I don't want to duplicate it again. But the one I saved before is here. This is the one that's printed in the gallery is this one. And you can see now it's 4,200 pixels on the big side. And it didn't lose much in terms of sharpness. If you zoom way in, I'm at 300%. You can see some loss in here. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's more perfect than almost any image you're gonna see of a mountain lion. And that's enough for most people. So that's where I wound up. There's some artifacts from the enlarging, but again, once it's printed, those tend to kind of vanish. So pushed any further, it would not work, but that's about the limit. And again, we're dealing with a heavy crop on a picture that looked like a failure at first. So there it is. That's the backstory behind this mountain lion shot, how it came about, and how I got it, and how I edited it, and what it wound up looking like. So hopefully that was interesting to somebody, and happy to answer any questions if you want to put them down there in the comments. But until next time, we will see you later.